And I want to begin with a case that we've been following here now for a week or so, and it's out of Atlanta, Georgia. Take a look at this picture. This is the last known picture of Katherine Janness with her dog, Bowie. They're crossing the street there, and that rainbow is a crosswalk going to Piedmont Park, which is a beautiful park in Atlanta, taking the dog for the walk at night. She was found brutally stabbed, some descriptions mutilated to death in Piedmont Park, July 28th, around 1 o'clock in the morning. She was found by her girlfriend, and you see her picture right there from their GoFundMe page. That's Emma Clark. Her and Katie were together, and Katie went to walk the dog. And Emma was trying to find her, and where is she? So she pinged her phone and went and discovered Katie and the dog, Bowie, killed. And you have to understand, this is a very popular part of town, and this absolutely struck fear across the city, still tonight, as we sit here. I mean, people are wondering, who is out there? Who could possibly be responsible for this? Now, getting back to that night, when Emma finds Katie, she calls 911. We have that recording for you now. Let's take a listen.
911, operator 7959. What's the address to your emergency?
Sir, I'm at the entrance of Piedmont Park. I just was searching for my girlfriend's phone because I couldn't find her. She's dead. She's here at Piedmont Park. Please help.
You said somebody's dead at Piedmont Park?
Yes, sir. Please send help. Please.
All right, yes, ma'am. I'm going to send help to you.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
All right, can I get your name? Get a callback number? Where's she at in the park?
She's like near the entrance, like, I don't know how to explain it to you. Did you just see that? That's my girlfriend. What the Yeah.
All right, hold.
Please, oh my God, dude, she's dead, like, it's so fun.
All right, I'm about to call Grady, okay?
Please.
Grady EMS, what's the address of your emergency?
Hey, Grady, I have one for 1073 Piedmont Avenue Northeast.
You have a call on the line?
Yes, ma'am. Are you still on the line? Okay, I guess she must have disconnected. She said her girlfriend is dead in the park.
Can't imagine what she was going through that night, Emma, in discovering this scene. I mean, there's the horror of it, right? Then there's got to be the heartbreak, and then the fear, because there you are. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and you could be next as well. You don't know who's responsible. And as we sit here tonight, they still don't know. And all hands are on deck in Atlanta. Trust me. APD, sheriffs, you've got FBI involved in this investigation. They're all trying to figure it out. Let's bring in our guests tonight. Joining us in Los Angeles, California, retired FBI Special Agent Bobby Chacon is with us, and in Salt Lake City, Utah, retired police commander and host of the Profiling Evil podcast, Mike King is with us. Great to have you both here. Bobby Chacon, let me start with you. FBI is involved, right? This is a local case. It's a murder. Obviously, it's a big story. Why and when does the FBI get involved in a murder investigation?
You know, Vinny, that's a common question, and it can range anywhere from the fact that there could be some federal crime violated, although it doesn't seem like it. The FBI normally lends any kind of assistance to any federal, state, or local agency that requests it, and that could be laboratory assistance, it could be manpower, it could be equipment. I don't know the specifics that they're lending in this case, but oftentimes it doesn't have to be a federal crime for the FBI to come in and just lend assistance, and it doesn't have to do anything with the prosecution. It just, if we have the bodies or if we have a piece of equipment, I did that often in my career when I was with the dive team, we would lend ourselves out to anybody that needed us. So in this particular case, it could be video enhancement because we're talking with a lot of video, and the FBI has a pretty advanced laboratory in Quantico, Virginia, that could enhance some of that video if they needed enhanced or audio or things like that. So I would imagine there's some level of technical expertise that the FBI might have that they're lending in this case, because normally when there's a missing child or something, we turn out and hundreds of people and agents turn out and walk the fields and the woods, and that's not this type of case. So I believe that probably they're lending some kind of technical expertise to this case.
Mike King, host of Profiling Evil. This is evil, what happened to Katie. And the other shocking part of this is you would think there'd be a level of safety and deterrence in you're walking your dog, right? And
yeah.
That's the part that really shocked me. And then the way the victim, Katie's been described as being mutilated there, is tough.
Yeah, this one is one that really grips at you because she's out walking her dog. The dog is killed from everything that I've been able to tell in this case as well. So you really start looking at was this a case of a otherwise low risk individual who happened to, because of the change in circumstance, walking through this park at midnight in an area in a park that isn't well lit, that this becomes an opportunistic murder. And I really appreciate what Bobby had to say, because I wondered about that same thing of the Bureau's involvement, of whether it had to do with all of the CCTV imagery that they're looking at, or whether this had something to do with the fact that this victim is married in a same-sex relationship, and is this a hate crime or something that is a civil rights violation because of that as well. But boy, to me, Vinny, it boils down to what can we do to lower our risk level, not to be frightened in our communities, but look at going into a park with poor cameras, poor lighting, middle of the night, alone, even though you've got a dog. Just a recipe for challenge.
Yeah, and sad that it is a recipe for challenge. But this investigation continuing. Now, police in Atlanta, as we saw, recently released that 911 call that you just heard that was made by Emma Clark, Katherine Janness' partner, who found the bodies of Janness and their dog, Bowie, after that stabbing in Piedmont Park. Now, Emma spoke to WSB-TV in Atlanta and told them law enforcement has not been keeping her in the loop on updates in this investigation.
They haven't told me anything extra. Like, I don't know about suspects. I don't know about if anybody, they're looking into anything like that.
So a level of frustration there. I want to ask you guys today, what kind of information does law enforcement usually share with those who are close to a victim of a crime like this? Bobby, I'll start with you.
Well, I mean, as hard as it's going to sound and as harsh as it's going to sound, we share as little as possible in the beginnings of an investigation like this, because the only information that we release are information that's going to strategically benefit the investigation. And that's kind of what, like I always had victim assistance personnel that handled the families, because my main focus was to get the bad guy. And my main focus was not to, as harsh as this might sound, make the family feel better, because sometimes the perpetrator was a family member. So really, I had to focus all my attention on who is the perpetrator, and any information that you release to anybody, even if you tell them, please don't release this to other people, if you tell the family, there's always a chance it could leak. So you only release information that's going to be strategically advantageous to the investigation at this point. And the palliative care of the family and the witnesses should be somebody else's burden, and they should be taken care of. But they have to understand that information at this point is very fragile, and we can't just make everything public that we're coming up with. Witnesses sometimes are very hesitant to come forward. In this case, maybe there's somebody that knew who it was or saw somebody, but they don't want to say. So you're dealing with that person, and you're trying to massage them to be uncomfortable enough to actually make a statement on the record. Maybe they have somebody who has made something that said, I think I saw this guy and I know him, but I'm not going to say anything. I don't want to go on record. And maybe they're trying to work that angle. But you have to be very, very careful at this stage of the investigation, because that information could, if it's released or widespread, could compromise the investigation.
And Mike, we do see that reaction a lot in a lot of these unsolved cases that we cover. And this one is relatively new, right? But ones where it's been 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, is that sometimes families and victims feel like we're not getting enough information and we feel like nothing is happening.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a place where I think law enforcement has to become better, because we don't want the investigator who's in the trench working this case to ever be in a position to release something that could be that golden nugget that helps him solve the crime. But that said, the agency, whether it's through a victim assistance program or it's someone in the agency, needs to still remember that compassionate side of law enforcement as well, that says, hey, family, we haven't forgotten you. We're still working your case. I can't share exactly what's happening, but we still continue to go to work every day to try to solve your case.
Absolutely. Now, there was also some park surveillance video that was released in this case, and they weren't suspects or even people of interest. They're just people who were out that night. And our understanding is that the jogger that you see there, the folks you see walking across the street, have all been identified and have come forward. So they're in the area that night, Mike. So that could be very helpful for investigators here. Obviously, people who are out the night may have seen something that they didn't think was anything that may help here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the bottom line is, did they see somebody that was acting suspicious, and they can give a clothing description or a physical description of the individual? What made them uncomfortable, or why didn't it make them uncomfortable? And what was the difference in actually the individual? Why did this woman stand out as a potential victim for someone to try to prey on and prey on?
Yeah, and Bobby, I'm a guy who doesn't necessarily believe the government should be seeing everything that's going on, right? But then I look at a situation like this, and we have unsolved crime. I'm like, maybe we need more surveillance cameras in public places. There are countries where there are closed-circuit cameras everywhere. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, like everybody else, I wear two hats on this. I wear my private citizen hat, which says that I don't want to be intruded on by the government the minute I leave my house in the morning, and every public space I travel through. And then there's the law enforcement hat that I wore for 30 years. And, those videotapes and those tapes, I remember back to the London bombings, and the Sonata brothers, the Boston Marathon. Sometimes those videotapes, those public videotapes, can be the thing that cracks the case. And they're so beneficial to me as an investigator. So I really struggle with that balance. Where does the balance come through? I'm a private citizen now. I'm retired. I don't want the government, seeing every move I make. But I understand that once I leave my house and I'm out in the public eye, that's a possibility. But I don't know that I would favor, cameras on every street light.
Yeah, and here, obviously, there are cameras that picked up bits and pieces, but we don't think there's any video of the actual suspect. All right, we'll continue to track this case and this investigation.